all right. What is up? What is up, everybody? Good afternoon, good evening. Let's rock and roll. All right. So what I want to do today is here. Let me come over here to tradingview.com. We're gonna jump straight into Sunday setups. You know, for everybody who's been on these calls, you already know Sunday is the best day to get set up. The markets are just opening. So now is that opportunity, that time to come in and really identify where the markets are moving. And at the same time, an opportunity to evaluate how the markets have been, right? So let's head over and let's get in our tradingview.com. Now, for everybody who is on this call, if you guys can hear my voice, if you can see my screen, can you do me a favor and type in 111? If you can hear my voice and type in my screen and see my screen, just type a 111 in the chat. Let's make sure that we are all on here. All right. Perfect. So what I want to do is, let's bring out these charts. So if there's any specific currency pair that you're looking at, do me a favor and drop it in the comments. All right, so I'm going to just pick up some AUD pairs. I'm going to pick up some NZD pairs. All right. If there's anything that I'm missing, just drop it in the comments. Let me know what you guys are looking at. And what you're going to notice is some of these I looked at from last week. Some of them might have some markups. The first thing we want to do, of course, is identify what we're looking at for the week ahead of time, right? So we have an idea of what the market's looking to do. But I want you to also, everything that happened last week, right? We had some nice moves. Ooh, some nice moves. I remember GN to the upside. Yeah. I remember Aud Cad. Yeah, awesome. Everything that happened last week, do me a favor, and I want you to just erase everything. All right? Because we're going to start fresh. And for those people who are newer and this is your first time on this call, what I want to do is really help you guys utilizing all of our elevated resources that we have, right? So if you guys are inside our FX Mastery package, you should have access to Enigma and the elevated pullback pips indicator, right? These are the two amazing tools that we have that literally simplify your trading and make it so much more easier, right? You're going to have a tool that literally identifies institutional setups in the market, right? Literally, here, whenever there's an institutional setup, you'll be given those parameters, bada bing, bada boom, right? You'll be given those parameters, stop loss, take profits, all that good stuff. You know, sometimes the stop loss gets hit, but best believe you're gonna have more wins than you have losses, right? Here's another setup, boom, went straight into profit, right? So what you're gonna notice is when you're trading, you wanna make sure that you're using proper risk management so you're not over leveraging, right? So you're not over leveraging. What I want you to understand is just looking at this system, let's just play a few setups real quick, just so you guys can see what I mean. Give me 1 second, got a few. Boom. We had these setups. I want to bring out the pullback pips indicator, right? Because what this tool literally helps you do is once you're identifying that you have a bearish or a bullish setup, you come right in here and with your pullback pips indicator, I just want to show you the background. Our bias is going to help us identify what type of market condition we're dealing in. So when we had these last setups, right, we were in a bearish market. When we had this setup, we were in a bullish market, bearish market, and so forth, right? So what this allows you to do is not only identify the setup, have more confluences, but now be able to identify, okay, even if I got stopped out in these scenarios, right? In this scenario here, how could I have maximized because I knew I was still in a bearish opportunity, right? Those next two setups were golden, right? So these are things that we're going to talk about. Now, the first thing I want you guys to be aware of with your Enigma system, you know, you're going to see me personally using it on the 1 hour. At times I'll use it on the 30-minute, you know, and I'll literally go in and I'll identify the currency pairs, see how this bad boy has been doing. So you get to understand this system, right? As long as you're using proper risk management, you're going to have more winners than you have losers. And that's the key thing, being able to stay consistent and profitable, right? So let's jump in. I want to go just straight into some of these bad boys. I'm going to bring out Enigma. I'm going to keep it real simple and easy for you guys. And what I like to do is, based off of the currency pairs that I'm looking at, I'll identify if there's an active setup, right? You can see that we did have this nice setup that went straight into TP1, TP2, and on its way to TP3. You did see these nice setups that just went straight into TP3, both scenarios. What's next, right? So let me come over here. So looking at this AU, just looking at this AU, something that I'm very patient on is right now, you got to realize the market has been holding at this level, right? It's still bearish, but right now, when you're selling the market, you want to sell it at these higher points, especially if you're already aware that you're in a bearish situation, right? Of course, you'd want to get in here and hold that bad boy and right up top. So you got to understand that there are times the market's going to consolidate. It's going to move sideways. So right now with AU, I'd be a little patient and see how it looks later, right? I'm just going to jump into some of these bad boys. We had this AJ that went straight into profit. Great. All right, we can look at Aud Cad. This might be interesting. This first setup was nice. Second setup went into profit. Did a nice pullback. So my question is there any opportunity there? Right? All I'm doing is I'm going in, right? Look at these setups that we had on AUD NZD. Pullback pips, look at that. Bullish, 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 right? So I'm keeping my eyes and I want to know what's happening here. If there's still an active setup there, what confluences do we have, right? So let me just do this real quick and do it a little faster, right? All of these setups were magical. Oh my gosh, look at that. This was the first setup that I took on NU, but just imagine that this bad boy gave us another setup. So yes. And what you're doing is, what you're already doing is filtering out which setups are getting ready or are ready to move, right? You don't want to be stuck in a consolidated market. Like look at these last setups we had on NZD CAD. Like this setup right here was all based off of here, right? That one was perfect. This one perfect, right? We do have an opportunity to go lower. So what is it going to do next? All right. Ooh, a lot of these were nice. You know, I'm going to leave that one alone. Let's see. Look at those GBP pushes to the downside were great. I'm just looking for is there anything right now for us, right? Like whenever you see that the market's created so much momentum and it already created that move, you got to realize the only best thing you could do is get in on a pullback, right? Wait for the market to retrace before going higher. So by at least identifying which setups are active, like this one right here, look at this, right? It potentially could reach up into this level, but yes, I'm looking for a pullback. So these are things we're going to look for. All right, this EU was just magical. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's see, what else do we got? Nothing there. Oh, look at that. That EG, like this right here. I'm interested in that. EA. All right, those were some nice, beautiful moves to the upside. So I can't do much right now. And that's why it's key. It's key that you're using this system, and it's key that you have your notifications on, right? As you're actively trading, yeah, you'll be able to identify what you're looking at, right? Like this setup was based off of this pullback, right? This move just was great. This move was great, right? This market already moved hundreds of pips to the upside, over 400 pips. You got to let it breathe. And that's why it's key to just make sure you're taking these active setups and you're identifying. Don't sleep on them. All right, so let me see. I'm just gonna see if there's anything else that I'm missing, just so we can move along. I got my euros, I got my CADs, my NZDs. And what I'm gonna do is we're just gonna stick with the currency pairs that have a setup with Enigma, right? Because this tool is already what? 70, 75, 80% accurate, right? So as long as you're using proper risk management, you're already gonna stay consistent. All right, so let me just triple confirm some last ones over here. All right, nothing there, nothing there, nothing there. All right. All right, so let's stick with these for right now. Beautiful. All right. The next thing I want to just be able to confirm is if I'm looking at my setups, what bias am I in, right? As you can see, Aud Cad is shown what? Bullish. So me, I'm being patient enough to see what is the market doing between these two levels. Because yes, I identified if I'm in the bearish setup, but hey, the bearish setup isn't there yet. So this is what patience is all about, just putting all this together where you'll be able to identify two key levels that the market's bouncing between, where it's reacting off of. Right? Like this one's a good example. I like NU. Let's see. I like NU and GN the most. EG doesn't look bad either. All right. So let's do this. My fault, fam. All right. So now that we got these levels, these setups, right? Let's go to EG. What's the first thing I'm looking at? I want to look at the bigger time frame and ask myself, where can this market push to? What key levels of structure, right? Structure, because these are going to help us identify where the market could push to and where the market could pull back to, right? As you can see, this level of structure was what? Broken. So me personally, if I'm looking for EG to be bullish, right, which we got the bullish setup, if I'm looking for EG to be bullish, I would want it to what? Pull back or react off of these broken levels of structure, right? Let me show you guys what I mean. So when you go on your pullback pips indicator, this bad boy is literally going to help you identify your bias as long as you're in the trending market. But at the same time, you'll be able to have just some nice key levels of structure identified. And I just want to replay this situation so you can see what's happening and what the market looks like. Because you always want to be able to see where is that structure and price, right? So like, for example, right here with EG, this bad boy had these levels of structure. So eventually, when the market started going up, what do you think it's going to want to do? It's going to want to break these levels of structure to the upside, right? So that's always a reference to help you see as this market is moving on up, what are you looking for it to do? You're looking for it to come into these levels and make that move to the upside, right? So by being able to know where that structure is, it helps you not only see where you could pull back to, but also where you could look to target. Just some basic stuff, right? So eventually it's like if you would have already seen the first one right here, boom, that would have been one of our entries. Right here, boom, Enigma gave us a setup, right? It goes into TP1, TP2, right? So looking at the play right now that we currently have, we know that we're in a bullish setup. Now our question is, where can we minimize our risk the most? Because we know we have these levels to target, right? In the case for EG, I want the classic retracement. I want it to pull back, right? And where do I want it to pull back? I want it to, of course, pull back to all of this broken area that was rejection. Because now, if it does pull back here, it should serve as some support to push us up, right? Now, I'm just going to do some basic stuff. Now that I got this setup that I'm familiar with, I'm looking for the bullish setup. As long as our pullback pips is bullish, which it is, now it's just a matter of identifying okay, we don't want the market to break below these levels of structure, right? That's why our stop loss is going to be under that, right? People who took this play from earlier already placed some stops at this low. So I'm looking for it to come in. And what's going to happen is this is the same similar setup. If I can get it, this is what I'll be looking for. I'll be looking for this bad boy to pull back into this reference area. My stop loss is going to be under that mess, right? We can do maybe, a 30, 25 pip stop loss. Nothing too aggressive. But what you're going to notice is our targets are still going to be those levels of structure. Target 1, target 2. So these are opportunities now that I can turn a 3 to 1 into, look, a 4 to 1, right? So I'm pretty interested on that EG, see what it wants to do. Be a little patient. I know right now the time is 9:30. Look for some London moves, right? It'll be pretty interesting to see. Yeah, I like it. And it wouldn't even need to be that low. We can keep it at this stop loss. Turn a 3 to 1 into a 5 to 1. You know what I'm saying? Something real smooth. So don't doubt that pullback, and definitely keep an eye on EG, right? Now, in a sense, with some of these other setups right now, we can't do much because, for example, AUD NZD. Let's just look at it real quick. All right. With AUD NZD, our pullback pips has shown us that we're bearish. On the 1 hour, on the 2 hour, we're bullish. But what that allows me to see is it needs to pull back, right? It needs to what? Pull back before going up. Yeah, it's great to see if it could potentially come into these levels that we had. But what's going to be even sweeter is being able to ask ourselves, where can we get a pullback, right? And as long as it eventually stays above this and then turns bullish, yeah, I'll be looking for some buys. All right, for right now, the most simplest thing I could do is just restrict the market, right? Restrict the market. And it's going to be a matter of it deciding, hey, does it want to just hold, and then react, right? By that time, we'll see if it's bullish. But right now, I'm just waiting on that setup. EG out of all those looks the cleanest. We got this. Ooh, actually, GN looks pretty smooth too. But the only problem is that it's moved pips, from this level all the way up here. That's 180 pips. Of course, after that, it needs to breathe. Look at this move right here. It literally gave us this setup and went straight into profit. Imagine that you would have had that entry, really minimized the stop loss. That bad boy went for a nice 6 to 1. Sheesh. So right now, what's the best thing we can do is wait. All right. Now, aside from just waiting, what are some other things that I like to do when I'm setting up for the market? I want to be able to identify where my key levels are, right? Now, of course, these tools, Enigma, are all here to help you truly minimize and truly maximize your experience. Keep it simplified, but I still want to know where how to do everything on a manual sense. So let me just come in here real quick. You see, we had this one's not bad. I like my EG. That's actually one I'm going to keep my eyes on. Like we can talk a little bit more on EG. Looking at our levels on our bigger time frames, on our 4 hour, on our daily, these are going to help us just identify where the market's holding and where the market could potentially react off of, right? You can see these wicks serving as that resistance. Best believe, look into that as that supportive wave to push it up, right? Now, the great thing is, as long as you're always using proper risk management, right? You always have a place that you're placing your stop loss, a place that you have as, hey, I have an idea of where I want to target, right? You're going to be able to then identify something we call your R to R, your risk to reward ratio. And you can see when your setups are above 2.5, 3, You know, you don't have to be 100% accurate. So it's all about being patient, but then being able to identify the right setups where you're turning, like I said, a 3-to-1 into a 4-to-1, a 5-to-1, a 6-to-1, a 7-to-1, an 8-to-1. I know we got the Haitian sniper who does, 12-to-1s, 20-to-1s, right? So I do want to look at some charts though right now. So I'm just gonna bring up some currency pairs that I like to keep my eyes on. If there's anything that you want to look at, definitely drop it in the comments. Let's just identify some key things, key plays. Right. Actually, gold is a key play. Let's talk about it. Gold is a very important key play. If you guys been following along with gold, like I remember this right here, this right here, this right here. Let's just talk about gold real quick. Hold up. Oh. All right. Cool. Right. Let's just look at what we got here in this market. Looking at this market right now with gold. Why did I identify this zone, right? We see a lot of wicks, supportive wicks. So we know every time the market has hit this level, it's become what? Supportive. Whether if it's a sweep, just a retest, a wick, supportive. So right now, the most recent reaction was off of this move, pushing it up, right? Last week we had this nice push on gold that occurred, but guess what? It recently did what? Pulled back. I'm interested. Because if you noticed, this bad boy all the way, it literally went to that 1875 and pulled all the way back $100 to 1775. You know what I'm saying? And these wicks are interesting. And all that tells me for right now is something important. Looking at this gold, what's the first thing we want to be able to identify when we're looking at our markets on these bigger time frames? Where's structure, right? And once you got that structure on your bigger time frames, you'll be able to see what is the market reacting off of, whether in a supportive manner or resistant manner. So when you do this on, let's say, the daily, the 4-hour, right? You can see that this right here, this was a very interesting thing right here. I'm interested. Look at this. Was this a nice sweep possible? My question is, since I know that I don't want this market to be what? Below this level, right? This is how simple it is, right? When you identify these key levels, what are you looking for this gold to do? Once it comes to this area, serve as a support. Support where? Push us up where? Up, right? So it's just a matter of breaking it down and now identifying as we go from our 4-hour, our daily. You see this strong wick? That's told me the market's rejecting, right? It's pushing off of, it's running away from, it's hot, right? Look how hot it was. It was so hot. Look what it did. It took out all of those wicks and then decided to run all the way back up, right? So it's hot. It's running away. I like it. I'm interested. I'm going to keep my eyes on gold because if you notice, all the way up there, that's easy level of structure we can take this market to, right? Does it want to play funny a little bit and come back down? We'll see. But if I could find a pullback on gold, right? I got to be maybe a little patient, but I'll be looking for some type of setup where we'll be looking easy pushes to the upside, right? We don't need to go for, 800 pips, No. That's later targets, but definitely move nicely into your 300 pip move, right? Definitely find that nice pullback you're looking for so you can catch it to the upside, right? And it's just a matter of being a little bit patient, right? Let me see if there's anything on Enigma real quick. If not, nope, nothing yet, right? But like I said, what is interesting about this gold is this strong wick But then what's going to be even more interesting about this gold is if you go in and you just dissect what happened with each of these candles. It ran away. It swept. This becomes now my zone of reference that I'm looking at, right? Because now my stops are under that. But my question now lies, where am I looking for it to pull back to so I could possibly get in and push it on up, right? So I'm interested. I'm interested to see that, because if I can get that play, we would be minimizing some risk, pushing it on up, right? And as long as that number is above, what, 2.53, we're good, right? Let's see, pullback pips on the 1 hour, 2 hour. We're bearish right now, so I got to be a little patient, right? I definitely got to be a little patient for that, because that move, that's going to be a nice bearish that we're looking for. Keep an eye on it. I'm gonna keep it. GU. Now, something about GU I like. I know it's been very bearish. So it doesn't look as good as I thought it was gonna look. GCAD looks better actually, you know? And the reason I like GCAD is because if you notice, we had some nice bearish moves. Bearish flow to the downside. But recently, when you know where that structure is, you'll be able to see a reaction to it, right? So like, for example, right here, when you're looking at that level of structure, those highs, those high key points the market's reacting off of, you see it react. This is a rejection, a strong rejection, right? Just imagine people in this play for GCAD doing what? Placing stops above these highs, right? Above these highs, and look what it just did. The market went up, took both of them out, and then aggressively dropped. So that's when I'm looking at these markets, I'm always asking myself, did it react off of something? So I could at least know where to place my stop loss, right? I know the market shouldn't break above this level now if this was the strong move that can initiate going from structure to structure. What is the next level of structure I'm referring to? Right here, right? And what you're going to notice is if I can find a pullback, and I got to be a little patient, but if I can find a pullback, I'll be looking for some shorts, right? If I could find me a pullback, I'm going to place my stop and I'm going to push it on down. Boom. That's another play I'll be keeping my eyes on, right? Now I got to be patient. The pullback's necessary. The same way that EG needs this pullback, right? This is the same pullback we're looking for. Pullback, make it smooth, right? Pullback, make it smooth. I like those two actually. They look good. Let me know what you guys think, what you guys are looking at. I know some of these are just a little choppy, so it's just key to be able to have these levels identified. Like, hey, where's the restriction that I'm looking for, right? Let me see. Let's bring up some pairs. What are you guys looking at? What currency pairs are you checking out, right? I know there was a crazy push with this whole Black Friday on this US, not Black Friday, I'm sorry. All of this, I know it was on Friday, that's what I said, Friday, but literally there was some nice crazy push to the downside on US 30. This is interesting. This drop was interesting. You know, breaking through all of these levels. So when you always have a reference, where can I pull back to? Where can I react off of? You know, like with me, I'm interested. I'm interested to see what is this market looking to do, whether if it's come back down, sweep and push to these highs, stay above this level, or come up, try to sweep, take lows. Be patient. US30 doesn't look too good just yet, though. This was a crazy, this would have been smooth, yeah. Ooh, the drop was bananas too. Ooh, yeah. Leave it alone for right now. Leave it alone for right now. Yeah, these are probably going to be my 3 for today. If anybody doesn't have one, I'm just going to run through some euros real quick. We got Euro USD, Euro JPY, and let me see CAD JPY. Let's see, ZP USD. We already looked at it. It looked a little ugly. Right, boom. So actually, this one's not bad. This is not bad. I like EU. Let's look at it. All right. Now, looking at EU, let me grab that pullback pips indicator. We're bullish. And this is what's a little interesting. I like this because my next question is, if I'm bullish, where am I looking to take this market and where can I get in on? Right? So for example, a classic thing you can do is once you've identified you're in a bullish market, grab your fibs from that low point to the highest point. Right? This is always going to help you identify where can the market retrace to. That would be the best place for me to get in if it wants to continue, right? And what that also helps you do is discipline yourself to start seeing where are other areas that were broken, right? Where are these other areas located? Because now, look, with EU, this is my sweet spot right here, right? This is my sweet spot. This is my target. As long as we stay bullish, I'll be looking for a play like this, right? And what you'll be able to do is, by being able to get in on the right entry, what R to R looks great, minimizing your risk, maximizing your profit, right? You go from structure to structure, solid setup. Now, what's going to make this even better is, let's just say, hypothetically, let's just say if EU decides to stay above that trend line, all I needed to do is come down, right? Come down, do a little boop, a little kiss. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my stop loss right beneath all of that mess, right? I'm going to have a nice entry, place my stop loss under the mess. Okay? Give it some breather. And that's my valid setup right there on EU. I'm going to keep that one in the book right there. Right now, that's the thing. What's going to help this move? Right now, this bias is just bullish, but what else do you want to be able to confirm? Aside from the technicals, you want to confirm the fundamentals. So like, for example, we already know with the euro, we got the euro, but then we got the dollar. So if you're trading, let's say New York session, you want to make sure, what is the DXY doing, right? So like, for example, the DXY is going to do the opposite of Euro USD. So if the DXY is going up, that means Euro USD is going to be going down, right? Now, I like to use the pullback pips with your future currencies because it helps you also see the bias. Like, for example, if you notice from the 19th up until the 24th, right? You see how bullish the dollar was? That tells me from the 19th to the 24th on Euro USD, you should have been what? Selling, right? So look, the 19th to what? The 24th, you should have been selling, right? And that's being able to understand your fundamentals and your correlations. So once you identify the times to trade, your currency pair to trade, identify what is the best correlations or the facts that are going to give you the better edge or consistency with that pair, right? That's just a classic DXY dollar correlation, right? Now, aside from that, DXY is going to control UJ, USwiss, which if the dollar wants to drop, that only tells me USD CHF should be looking to drop, right? Let's look at it. Let's look at it. Does it look like it wants to drop? Well, for starters, it already dropped like crazy, but let's look at something else, right? Now that this market has dropped aggressively, the next best thing I want to ask myself is, right? You see how it already is breaking those levels of structure? This is all good for us because we know we're selling this market. But the next thing we want to ask ourselves is, where can we get in on this market, right? And of course, that's when you could start off. You can always start off with a nice fib retracement. Identify some of your key retracements, right? These are going to be areas where the market wants to pull back and continue to flow. What you could also do is ask yourself, where were the last levels of just a structure, a support, a rejection, right, that the market came to? And what this helps me now identify is, if you look at this market, I'm not looking to get in here. I'm not looking to get in here, right? This is going to be my area that I'm looking for, my sweet spot, my pullback that I'll be identifying, so I could do what? Minimize my risk and do what? Maximize my profit. Now, with the pullback pips, you already got your structure identified. Look, it's right there, 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 and we just recently broke that, right? So if you have that, now you know, hey, once I catch my pullback, which is definitely easy to do because look, it already created such momentum, right? We now have levels to take this bad boy to. So that's another setup I'm going to keep my eyes on. I like it. I like use Swiss a lot. You know, this was a nice classic move. Like if you notice, let me tell you what was classical about it. This level, what did it do? It was swept, right? This level, what it did, it swept, right? So a lot of the times, once you see the market sweep levels, it's like you don't want to just get in. You want to see the impulse, right? You want to see it truly create an impulse. So once you see an impulse, I'm talking about something strong, you know, okay, that's what the market did. After it swept, all of these people are sick because their stop loss are taken out, right? And guess what? Now those people have at least some profit, right? Should be securing the bag, right? Now, psychologically, whenever there's an impulse, right, you need to let the market pull back. You don't want to get in at these low points where the market's actually crashing. No, you want to get in at the hey, where can I get in at a price where I'm going to minimize my risk and then maximize my profit, right? And when you know that you're going to push markets into structure levels, boop, 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 and you know you can reference some structure levels for your stop loss, all you have to do is bring up your trade setup and ask yourself, do the numbers make sense? And you see that R to R? That's cake, right? You could easily turn that into 6 to 1, right? Maximize. So let me know if you guys don't have any questions. I think those will be my setups for tonight. All right, I'm gonna probably look into some other ones. Let me see. I got that setup, that setup, that setup, that setup, and that. I like it. I like those, right? And like for example, what's gonna help is with this gold, what should be able to help it. That's a strong pullback. It might not pull aggressively because it did that sweep already. Give me 1 second. What I want you guys to do, for anybody who's actually looking at this bad boy, you don't even want the market to come into these lows. It makes no sense, all right? I just want it to come in and take out one of these areas, right? And if you grab your fib tool, this is why it gets so interesting, because if you notice, all right, when you got the lowest point and you got the highest point, I'm just going to take all these things off real quick. One thing I'm asking myself is, where can I get in to minimize my risk? So I'm keeping my eyes peeled. Keeping my eyes peeled to see the reaction it gets at these levels of price. 1880 would probably be a good level to look at, right? I know it's going to be an aggressive push if it gets it, but if it does, that will be great for us. Let's see what else. Euro USD, and and U-Swiss both need pullbacks. If we don't get the pullbacks, we don't enter, right? They look valid to pull back, so don't rush it. And GCAD and EG are going to go opposite, right? They're going to do opposite moves during London. So London session 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m. Eastern, right? I want to see what this market does. I do believe it might pull back a little bit more. We do have an Enigma setup with EG, right? So what I'm looking for this market to do is clearly pull back, right? Let me show you. This is actually going to be a setup I'm going to drop. So this is going to be a setup. Let me drop it in the Discord. I'm going to drop what's key about this bad boy. Let's simplify. What's juicy about this? The lowest point, right? The lowest point serves as what? That support, right? What's juicy? This market starts breaking what? Structure levels to the upside, showing us that the power is now there, right? As it pulls back, what is it really doing? These low points are casually going what? Up, right? So what that helps us now see is that we're dealing in a market that's with momentum. Right here, it actually broke this high. That pullback was nice on entry to continue that move, right? So now my only question is, where can I get in to minimize and maximize? And the only spot I really want to keep in mind is around here, right? If I can get it, I think it's like, look at that. It's not even that bad. If it can pull back at least 30 pips, ooh, it's going to be great. My targets are still going to be the same. I could even minimize my risk to maximize my reward. That's my setup on EG. I do like it. Keep it in mind. Keep it in mind. Those are going to be some reaction spots to see what does the market want to do at this level. That's actually the last confirmation, right? That we could add on there with the cherry on top is grabbing our Fibonacci tool and asking ourselves, hey, where's our classic pullbacks? We got our 38.2, our 50, 618, right? I like it between our 50 and that 618. So what that means is if I could have my stop loss below all of that, right? My stop loss below all of that, I like 14 pips. Boop. I got my targets. That's my setup I'm keeping on. EG, Euro GBP. Loving it, right? So I didn't complicate too much. The last thing I'll look for on GCAD, and this is a classic move right here, right? Look how classical it is. It gave us that sweep and then momentum. So right now, the only thing we need is just a pullback, and we're good, right? We're good to take it down into these levels of structure if that's the move for tonight, right? I don't think it's going to be too choppy or ugly, but what I am looking for it to do is pull back. You could start off at the 50, your 618, and if it wants to do a nice fake out, you'll hit 70.07, right? Those are areas I'm looking to place my entry. My stop loss is going to be, of course, above that high that created that reaction, that impulse, right? So if we could do a nice 40, R to R would be great on that. Yeah, loving it. Nothing too wild on that. And everything else is just a matter of moving with the market, right? You got to be patient. You got to let it pull back. That's part of the market. You can't be too aggressive. Don't over leverage if it's not moving. And best believe your opportunities will come, right? So I appreciate everybody on this call. And I'll see you guys on our next session on Thursday. Take care, fam. Don't forget, we also have our session tomorrow with IT on Mondays and Tuesdays. We have Osman as well as Andre's COT session. So make sure you guys are inside our Discord community where you know the webinar schedule, and make sure to tune in, fam. So I appreciate you guys and have an amazing night. Take care.